Today we're covering a popular request, which is attacking from half guard. Using half guard in a simple way to get yourself more sweeps and submissions. So if you're someone who's ever struggled with half guard and you feel that all the stuff that you need to learn is too fancy, it's just a matter of breaking it down enough. And I believe with the way I teach, it will be simple enough for you to use and deploy in active training and even competition. So with that, if you struggled with half guard, you're in the right place. Let's dive in. Now, if you've been with me for a while, you know I like to specify which positions would be good in self-defense and street fights and what wouldn't be. And I'm a big believer that half guard is not a good place to be in a street fight or a self-defense scenario. Half guard is great for sport jiu-jitsu, awesome for competitions. I would never use any of this in a street fight. That being said, if you've struggled with using half guard in a way that works for you, I've got you covered. I'm gonna cover some techniques that are gonna help you feel more confident next time you are the one using half guard. Now, first up is a scissor sweep, and this is one of my all-time favorites because you don't have to be in half guard to hit a scissor sweep, but oftentimes you can find it here. Now, if you're anything like me, you don't automatically go for half guard, but you may have found yourself there in an attempt to prevent something from passing your guard, almost like a last-ditch effort, and the scissor sweep is one of those options. So as we check the example, you're gonna see that I have my knee shield from the half guard. This is great because I can keep my opponent at bay. I can either push him away or pull him in with the hook of my foot that's on his back. Now you'll notice that I'm getting a cross grip on his far side lapel. I'm not grabbing his same side lapel, I'm grabbing his far side lapel. With that lapel, I'm also pulling his weight into my knee shield and I'm pushing my knee shield into his chest. I want him to feel like he's glued or cemented to my knee and my shin. Now, the other piece of this puzzle is with my free hand, I'm going to reach across and grab the end of his sleeve. The reason I'm doing this is because I want to remove that hand as a post. If he can stick that hand out and post off the mat, this is going to be really hard, if not impossible to hit. Now, once I have all these attachment points, there's only one thing left to do, which is taking my bottom leg, pulling it out from in between his legs and putting it on the outside of his outside leg. You'll notice that I have my lower leg placed as close to the ground as possible. Some of you may have mobility issues where your leg maybe hovers a couple inches over the mats. You can really fix that by sitting on top of your hip. Do not be flat on your back in this position. This is one of the biggest mistakes that people make with scissor sweeps. You can't be doing this from your back. A lot of jiu-jitsu is done from your side because you develop leverage, you develop power there. You're gonna need that leverage and power to be able to hit this sweep. So if your knee or leg isn't on the ground flat, tilt a little bit more onto your hip. Now from here, a lot of beginners try to hit this sweep and they wonder why it doesn't work. Well, guess what? If your opponent's butt is against their heels, like you can see here in the example, I'm never gonna be able to hit this and neither will you. It's gonna be really, really hard and honestly a big waste of energy. What you need to do is pull his body away and up so that his butt leaves his feet. As you can see here, I'm pulling his torso away. I'm doing that with my hand that's grabbing onto his lapel. And I'm also doing that with my knee shield foot that's hooked into his back, pulling his butt away from his feet. Once I do that, I front load his weight. I take the load of his weight off his legs and lean it forward into his chest. So essentially what I'm doing is I'm changing his center of gravity, which makes his legs a little bit lighter. This is exactly what I want. Now, if everything's set up correctly, my bottom leg kicks inward and my top leg kicks out like I'm kicking a soccer ball. And as he begins to flip and fall into that sweep, I'm also maintaining my grip on his collar and I'm using his weight going to the ground to pull me on top of him. Remember, in a competition scenario, most tournament settings, you're not going to get points for a sweep if you don't follow your opponent up. If you sweep your opponent off of you and you don't come up with it, you're not going to get any points awarded. So make sure you're doing that. And on top of getting points, you want to stay on top. That's an advantage. It's a physical advantage. You have gravity working for you, right? Obviously, jiu-jitsu is zero-G fighting. You can fight from anywhere, but gravity likes to push down. So be the force on top that pushes down into your opponent. You'll notice that a lot of tournament settings, the point system is set up to award the person on top. There's more points to be earned on top than there is on bottom. Try to keep that one in the back of your head. That always helps me remember I want to get on top when I was a white belt and a blue belt. And as I show this from a couple different angles, you're going to see that Foot placement is really important. You know, knee placement is really important. I want the knee of my knee shield pointed up towards my opponent's opposite side shoulder. I need to have my shin high enough on his torso so that my foot that's hooked into his lower back is in a place of advantage. If my knee shield is too low, I'm not going to have the right leverage. If my knee shield is too high, I'm not going to have the right leverage, right? There's a little bit of a sweet spot, and with reps, you'll find it. The scissor sweep is something that you can hit in gi and no gi. Obviously, in no gi, you're going to be getting a collar tie instead of a lapel grip, and you're going to be grabbing the wrist instead of grabbing the end of the sleeve. But this is just as effective in no gi as it is in gi. If you're not training the scissor sweep yet, I highly recommend you put it into your training regimen because it's worth the effort. Most people don't realize this, but your gear can either help you or hold you back. Now, I've been training in jiu-jitsu gear for a long time, and most of it looks good online, but falls apart when it actually matters. That's exactly why I wear X Martial. This isn't just clean designs, it's performance-built gear. You get a compression fit that actually moves with you, durability that holds up during the hardest of rounds, and designs that don't look like every other basic rash guard on the mat. Whether you're drilling, competing, or going to war with one of your favorite training partners, X Martial is built for it. It's lightweight, it's breathable, and it's made for people who actually train. If you're serious about your jiu-jitsu, your attire should match that. So go check out X Martial, grab yourself a set or 2 or 3, and if you're smart, you use my code IRONWILL to save yourself some money. Train harder, roll longer, and look sharp doing it. Let's get back to the video. Now this next one's a lapel sweep, and although it does look a little more advanced, it's truly not that advanced once we break it down. It's truly just a matter of leverage and having the right attachment points to capitalize on that leverage. So as you're watching this play through in the example, one thing I want to point out, finding that lapel because it's already untucked on my opponent. You've had rounds or matches where you're rolling in the gi and the gis just come undone naturally. This is great, right? I'm not necessarily, and this is my preference only, there may be other people that will disagree, but from this position, I don't like to try to fish that lapel out. I don't like to reach for that lapel and untuck it from the belt. I feel that it's very telegraphing, and it also puts me in a place of extension when I don't necessarily want to be there. If I'm reaching that far for the belt, I'm just gonna go for an underhook on the legs. So if the gi is already out and that lapel is free hanging, I will go for this. So as you can see in this position, from half guard, I reach with my bottom hand and I grab that low hanging outside lapel. From here, I sit up onto my elbow and I posture into his body, almost like I'm trying to push him into a bump sweep. Now, once I'm sitting up and pressuring into his chest, I'm gonna take my right hand and feed that open lapel around his back to my left hand. Now, this whole segment right here is what I would call a failure point in the move. You have to do this part quick. This is not something that you can do slow. This is not something that you can be lackadaisical about. You have to be very intentional here, okay? I'm sitting up, I'm pressuring in, almost feels like I'm trying to hit that bump sweep. I feed that lapel around his back to my other hand. Now, once I feed that lapel to my other hand, my left hand, I'm pretty much past that failure point and I can settle back into my position. So you'll see I laying back down onto my side and I'm holding a lot of tension in that lapel with my left hand. I'm almost in a way putting a twist in his spine, which, as we know, if you followed me long enough, this is something I talk about. Putting a bend or a twist in the human spine greatly reduces that person's strength. It's one of the most powerful tricks you can do in a physiological way in a grappling scenario. This is why we deadlift with a straight spine. We squat with a straight spine. So remember, any kind of twist or bend that you can put in your opponent's spine, you make their body overall much more weak. Now you're gonna see that I take my knee shield and I'm gonna drop this below his waist to his thigh. Now once this happens, we are go for launch. I am going to pull on that lapel like I'm starting a lawnmower while I'm kicking into his thigh. And as you can see here, I send him into a twisting motion that exposes his belly to the ceiling, which makes it very easy for me to capitalize on something like side control. This looks like a fancy move. This looks like it takes a lot of power, but all it is leverage. It's leverage under force, which creates motion. And once you rep this a few times and start to get used to the idea of it, it starts to become pretty simple. Again, if this is your first time doing this move and you're not hitting it, you know what? It's normal. You have to give yourself room for grace. You're not going to be able to do every new move perfectly. You're just not going to be able to. So try not to get too frustrated with yourself. But this is a really fun sweep that I've liked to use in the gi for a while, and you don't see a lot of people hitting it. So you want to set yourself apart from the crowd, start working this one a little bit. Not a lot of people see it coming. Not a lot of people train this one, but it's valuable because it works. So if you're not using it, get some reps. It'll be worth your time. This last one is a knee bar from HalfGuard. Now, this was one of the first knee bars I ever learned, and I hold this one close to my heart because outside of learning straight ankle locks, this was my exposure to the world of leg locks and how cool they can be, how fun they can be, how savvy they can be, right? This is exactly that. So as we check the example, you see that I'm in HalfGuard. What I want to do is with my bottom hand, I'm going to shoot my upper body closer to his outside knee, and I'm going to get an underhook on his thigh. Now from here, my top side hand is going to push off his chest to create a little bit of room. I just need to push him back a few inches. From there, I'm going to pendulum swing my top leg over top of his head. And remember, when you're doing this, you're creating momentum with your leg. If you just do this like you're going through the motions, it's going to be really hard. You want to build momentum with that swing because you're going to use the momentum of that swing to carry your body over and around. So as we check the example, you can see that I'm swinging that leg over my opponent's head, creating momentum, and it allows me to pivot off my forehead. And this allows me to roll into a position where my belly button is facing his kneecap. These are the ingredients of a knee bar. Much like in an arm bar, we're always taught that you want your thumb facing away from your hips. In a knee bar, you want your belly button facing towards the kneecap. They don't have to directly line up, kneecap to belly button, but you want them facing towards each other, okay? And that puts you in a great place to break the leg. So as you can see here, I roll myself into that position, and as I'm rolling, I'm pinching my knees together on his thigh and also staying connected to his body with my feet. Because of these connection points, it makes it difficult for him to not roll with me. I want him to roll with me at the very end so that I can fall into the correct position. If I don't have that momentum and those connection points, he's not gonna roll with me, and it's gonna make hitting this a lot more difficult. So once I'm pivoting off my head and I'm landing on my side, you can see here that I then fish my top arm over top of his leg so that I'm trapping his Achilles tendon almost in my armpit. And then from there, I'm grabbing my own butt, which helps ensure that his leg is locked into place. From here, I'm doing a hip bridge, applying pressure to his kneecap, forcing his leg backwards, which again, locks the leg out, and getting that tap. You want to be careful on this one because everyone has different breaking points with their legs. Some people are really flexible. Some people have no flexibility and no mobility. So depending on who you're with, just apply this pressure, the braking pressure, really slow. When you're hipping in, go slow and wait for the tap, especially when you're in a training environment. You don't want to hurt your training partners, okay? I've gone with people who had really good mobility, and I really have to send this thing into the depths to get the tap. And then I've gone with people who I push an inch in and they're tapping frantically because they feel like their leg's gonna break. So just be good to each other, go nice and slow, and you should be able to avoid injuries with no problem. This one's fun because it shows you the power of the knee bar, it shows you how to get to the knee bar. And one of my most favorite things about it is it doesn't take a lot of energy to do. If I can get to the finish line with using minimal amounts of energy, I'm gonna do it. And the knee bar is great for teaching this concept. And these are some simple ways to stay on the offensive from HalfGuard. If you guys are using other techniques in HalfGuard that you find are simple but effective, drop them in the comments. I wanna see what everybody's using. I'm not a big HalfGuard player, guys, but just like any jiu-jitsu practitioner should, you should have some tricks in your pocket for every position. Just because you're not good at a position, or just because you don't like a position, or just because you don't believe in a position doesn't mean you shouldn't have tricks there. You should know some things from every position, including the ones that you don't like. So with that being said, guys, you know how we like to end them. New videos every Monday, sometimes backwards, always forwards. I'll see you in the next one.